Howdy, Fullmetal Cowboy Straight shooting a review of the first season of Castlevania. This show is an adaptation of the video game franchise of the same name by Konami, and the first season as well as the second season of Castlevania are adapting from the third Castlevania game, Dracula's Curse, for the Nintendo Entertainment System. Now, why is this show adapting Castlevania 3 and not the original Castlevania? That's because Castlevania 3 Dracula's Curse is a prequel to the original Castlevania, which one may wonder why that game was even numbered if it's a prequel. Then again, Metal Gear Solid 3 had the same situation. And they're both Konami franchises. This adaptation of Castlevania is a Netflix original series. The first season only lasts 4 episodes, which is why I didn't watch this back a year ago, because I didn't feel like watching just 4 episodes and having to wait a year for season 2. So I waited until season 2 came out, and then watched both seasons back to back. Now at first I thought it was kind of odd that the first season was only 4 episodes long, but after having experienced it, I can sort of understand why the first season is structured the way it is, because it's all set up. And I don't necessarily find that to be a bad thing in this show's case. Sure, it would have been nice if it had perhaps 12 episodes, which is what Season 1 and Season 2 count up altogether. And then I started thinking, if you put Season 1 and Season 2 together, there would be momentum issues. Let's say if that was the case, people would think Episode 5 would be a season opening kind of episode when really it isn't. It would not feel as if it's in the middle of a season. So I'm actually content with the first season being only 4 episodes and Season 2 being double the amount of episodes than Season 1. The following I'm about to say is repeated in a certain review of a film, a certain review of a musical, a certain review of an album, and a certain review of a video game. I have a little tradition in this channel where I review certain things in specific timing for special occasions. In this case, it's in response to a birthday of a friend of mine, who I will not disclose the name. So why Castlevania when it comes to television reviews is because she likes stories about vampires, as long as it's not about Twilight. She hates Twilight. And I don't blame her. I fucking hate that series too. And there's another little reason as to why I picked this show instead of a specific anime I could have reviewed instead. But I wanted to save that anime review for a specific milestone. When it comes to adaptations, books have either been treated fairly well when it comes to adapting into television or film, or ended up being duds, while video games have been cursed with many awful film adaptations. There's just a lot to count. However, in 2017, this show proved that you can adapt a video game into a television show and actually put effort into it. Now, the one thing you got to keep in mind with the Netflix Castlevania series is that it's adapting a video game that was for the Nintendo Entertainment System, which games of that nature really didn't have a lot of plot, unless it was a role-playing game. So how do you adapt a game that had little plot for an NES game and turn it into a television show? Easy. Make a coherent script. And the one thing that assured that this would be a great adaptation of a video game is having the characters that people remember from the video games, instead of replacing them with original characters. That is the one thing this show gets right. A question for those that have played Castlevania 3 Dracula's Curse. Did you like Trevor Beaumont, Sypha, or Alucard? Good, because they're in this show. One of the cool things about Netflix's Castlevania is that amongst the cast is Richard Armitage, who I remember as Thorin from the Hobbit films, and he voices Trevor Beaumont. And this show has an excellent cast. There was not one performance that I thought was dull. Visually, Netflix's Castlevania looks really good. I especially like one particular scene where we see the castle interior, and the artwork was fantastic during that particular portion of the show. And the animation in the first season of Netflix's Castlevania is good. I wouldn't really call it phenomenal, but I would say the best piece of animation I have seen in the show is during the opening credits. do remember that the first season of Castlevania does have some hiccups with its animation, especially one particular moment where it gets pretty choppy. Now, while the episode count of the first season of Castlevania is only 4 episodes long, there is still quite a number of scenes of dialogue throughout the first season of Castlevania. Some might find these particular portions boring in the show. I personally don't mind, but what excels in the first season of Castlevania is the action scenes. And you know what? I'm actually content with the way that the first season of Castlevania is structured. However, I do wish there was more effort put into fleshing out some of the characters during the first season of Castlevania, especially Trevor Belmont and Sypha. Alucard's fine because of his connection with Dracula, but as for Trevor and Sypha, we do get brief glimpses of their backgrounds, maybe once or twice, but nothing more than that. At the end of the day, I enjoyed the first season of Castlevania. I was not expecting this to be a 10 out of 10 show, and I got just that. And I jumped onto season 2 right after I finished season 1. What I really wanted out of Netflix's Castlevania series is to be a good adaptation of a video game. That's not hard to ask. And I got what I wanted, a good adaptation of a video game. After years of people making mediocre adaptations of video games, these people finally did a video game franchise justice. And what's more, producer Adi Shankar announced that there's a Devil May Cry TV show in the works. So we might have another good adaptation on our hands. Time can only tell, but I am very optimistic about that. I'm going to be shooting an 8 out of 10 for the first season of Castlevania. Stay tuned for my review of the second season of Castlevania, which I will also be releasing today. Until then, at ease.